Welcome to the channel. This is Reliable Rudy. Give me a couple seconds to get set up and we will go into our stock market recap for June 1st. I'll also give a couple thoughts on May and sort of some forward looking of what I'm looking for going into June. I did not post any sticky notes for today. But it was a very busy morning for me, and we will go into some of the plays that I was watching, and a lot of them are really good examples of what I'm looking for in terms of okay, I'm getting this setup that I like. I'm going to make a purchase, and I'm going to show good examples of how I use alerts to kind of keep everything in line so I can kind of track everything that I want to specifically. But before we go into any recap, you guys know I am not a licensed financial advisor. I'm simply just sharing my opinion with this analysis and technical analysis. And I believe that short term, the stock market in the short term is simply just a weighing machine, or is a voting machine. In the long term, I believe that the stock market is a weighing machine. Stocks, equities, indexes, you name it, I believe in the long term they will trade near their intrinsic value. How long it takes, I do not know. But the short term as a voting machine, I have a vote, the person next to me has a vote, person next to him has a vote. Some people have bigger votes than others. That's just the part of how I see it. Is it accurate? Is there conviction to that? I believe that there is, but I am not going to obviously show you that conviction. That is just what I believe in. Is there truth to it? Maybe. I don't know. So let me just do a couple things real quick, and then we will get into this analysis. And I do apologize for no sticky notes. This would have been a great day to have some sticky notes out there. Uh, I I just didn't get across to it, and I didn't want to be misleading in any way. Uh, and there's some good funny stories that I'm going to get into as well that, maybe uh, you guys agree, maybe you guys disagree. So just give me a couple seconds. I wasn't the most prepared going into this. Uh, and I should check and make sure that my volume is actually good. If I'm just not talking, okay, my volume is good. Good, good. Thank the Lord. Um, okay, before we go into any analysis, I'm going to reiterate. I'm simply sharing my opinion with this. Um, for those of you who know me, maybe you guys don't know me, I'm not a fan of news. I believe there is good news. I believe there is bad news. And the big news catalyst for today. Now, honest to God, I have my hand up right now. I know I don't have a camera. Honest to God, I had zero clue that a debt ceiling agreement was made today. Zero clue. Not until somebody in a Discord told me, and then I actually called my dad midday, and he had also said that a debt ceiling deal was made, and I honestly had no clue. One thing that I'm going to say off of this, if you guys are making investment decisions as maybe a long-term investment based on some of the short-term news catalyst, you are going to make mistakes. I'm going to say that right now. You are going to make mistakes. You are going to make and you are going to regret some of the mistakes that you make based on news catalysts. I mean, just looking at the Nasdaq right here. When did we start hearing news about the debt ceiling? What was it? Beginning of May, maybe a little bit earlier. Had you have made a decision based on that debt ceiling, you potentially could have made a horrible decision that you would regret. And now that a deal is made, if you are making investment decisions based off of a deal, who knows if we end up setting a top in the short term? You just don't know. And if you get caught up in that mess, I believe over the course of the long term, you are going to have many decisions that you regret. I firmly believe that. So I did want to just get that off my chest, that I tried to stay as far away from the news as possible. And if you want my honest opinion on the debt ceiling, since 1960, The debt ceiling has been raised 78 times. You can go look it up. 78 times the debt ceiling has been raised. But no, this 79th time, the debt ceiling is just nope, they're gonna let the United States default. Nope, the 79th time, that's enough. That is where I'm drawing the line. Guys, this is why I'm trying to teach a process for people to invest. I'm trying to teach a process for people to invest here. Another thing that, I had come up on my feed a couple times is a couple different YouTubers. I love this. This is just classic, and this happens all the time. A YouTuber makes a video on a company. He gets maybe a nice entry. So let's just say this as an example for this. He maybe gets an entry down here and he starts making some videos right here. And then it goes up to here and he's still making videos of maybe some news based thing that says, oh, you gotta freaking dump your money into it. And then it gets down here and he makes a video, oh yeah, I was trimming it, oh this or that. And then it's up here and he's up back to making the same videos about, oh you gotta this is a great buy. Look at the future catalyst for this. Oh, look at this earnings report. And it's just it disgusts me. It disgusts me. I'm just gonna say that right now. It is disgusting. And I hate it. I hate it. Oh man, I had to get that off my chest, guys, because I did have a couple people reach out about the debt ceiling today, and honestly, I want zero part of it. Zero. So, that's my thoughts on that. As I had stated many times, is it worth trims on some positions? I said that on Tuesday. Yes, I believe that it was. And on my sticky note, I had posted 5 to 10%. Would that have been reasonable for what the NASDAQ has done? A 5-10% trim. I believe that it was. Is it good advice? I don't know. It's up to you guys to take the information that you see and make your own decisions. And I stated that I would be absolutely shocked if this was the top short term. Why? Because you look at strength. I simply use strength as a metric as I look at it as the house. I believe the house majority of the time wins, but they don't win every time. And I've been very firm that kind of the level that we were trading at, we get the gap up on Tuesday, okay. But I am a firm until I get more confirmation in this zone where I believe the 702 is deadly. And you also have a nice gap fill back from April 4th that has never been filled, and that is right by my 702. I want to see action around this level. If the Nasdaq wants to go higher, you can look at my live streams from yesterday or the day before when I go over my thesis. I'm not gonna just keep eating at the same exact topic, but this all goes to just news-based related stuff and short-term trading and how it's just a big voting machine, guys. It's a big voting machine. So, moving forward, I'm sorry to go into that into more depth than maybe I should have. But let's start with XLE, and we'll just go to oil chart as same trend line, same stuff, guys. Same stuff. I've been preaching it. Uh, you guys know my opinion on oil. Is it right? Is it wrong? I really don't know. I do not know. But I did think that this presented some sort of entry. On oil, I had an alert early in the day for this level. I looked at it as in, okay, we're still respecting this uptrend. And when we put this higher low in, this was before the market was even open. Put this higher low in, all I simply did was put an alert and said, if we get over this price, I'm probably going to buy some XLE. And we put in some nice green volume. Really nice green volume. And when I see nice green moves like this, a lot of times I'll just go over to an hour chart. And I want to try and make this move into three candles. Now, the reason why I want to make it in three candles is because I look at that as the pull of a potential bull flag. Now, just because it's a potential bull flag, that does not mean that you are going to exceed over this wick high. But when I get those three green candles, I am very focused on what does the volume look like, and I see we have increased volume. Also, what does the candle look like? Nice green engulfing candle. nice green engulfing candle, and we put a wick top right here, where you have three green volume sticks right here. You have a three green move, but you have more of a wick, more of a wick, more of a wick. A little bit different of a scenario, and you're actually taking out some levels. In this, where are we wicking into? It's just the previous lows, guys. It's the previous lows. Was there any conviction that you were going to get some sort of a bull flag continuation here? Now, the next thing I'll say is, where are we leaving this wick at? Let's just put a horizontal line right through that wick. And you can see we are wicking into the previous lows. Does this have any weight to move higher? Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Long story short, let's go over to XLE, where we had a buy in XLE today. And it's not rocket science, guys. I had the same alert. We talked about the same alert in yesterday's live stream, where I had an alert right here. My first alert that was not taken away got alerted right at the open of the day. I see the sell-off, and all I simply did was increase that alert just a little bit. Just a little bit. And when it got alerted on a nice green candle, I said, okay, this is enough for me to dip into XLE. Uh, Not going to go more into my thesis on oil. If you guys have watched the live streams, you guys have seen that many times. But the next one that I want to talk about is FXI. This has made the sticky note a couple times over the last couple days. And in specific, yesterday, we called out a 25.55 gap fill. We can even go over to it. Let's go over to a day chart, where all we did was respect it. Were we unloading a huge amount of capital into this? No, no, just respecting a level. That's all it was. Now, going more in depth into the 15-minute chart, you can kind of see where I was looking at. As soon as we showed strength to get over top of this high, yes, I averaged in a little bit higher. I average in a little bit higher, and sometimes that sucks. Sometimes, averaging into a position at a higher price is tough to do. Uh, but we did see that we got this nice move. Now here, where's Thursday's day? Boom, green gold. Okay, so I actually had bought it a little bit higher. I bought it over 26. You get the gap up, you put the green engulfing candle through, and I simply just market ordered in for a few more shares. Did I know I was going to get this move to the upside? No. No, but this is where using alerts can sometimes give you a better reasoning on making a transaction on a trade. So that was a FXI, obviously a nice green move. Who knows? Maybe it comes back down to this range, and we have a little bit more time to go off of it. But looking at the day chart, let's just close out this chart. Still weak. Would I be surprised if this was the bottom? I would. I think that this is potentially going to get rejected. We have a gap fill to the upside right here that meets in with some shortable levels. And who knows, maybe this rolls over and we get a better opportunity to even maybe buy it at the next gap. Maybe even buy it at support. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I just wait for the market to present me a time to buy something, and all I do is simply just size accordingly. As you guys know, I was buying FXI up in the 27s, even a little bit in the 28s. Uh, I just respected that we had an uptrend. We were flirting with a little bit of positive strength right here. I thought we had some good volume that was coming in. And, I'm down on this position from when I started it. I'm okay with that because I have a long-term mindset with these ETFs that I'm trading. And, if I can get them at cheaper prices, I'm all for it. So that was FXI. Uh, so let's go to another buy that we had. BTI. We dipped into some BTI today, and honestly, the shares really aren't even doing that great from what I bought. But this is another example of. I originally said had an alert yesterday over top of this neckline. I see the red engulfing candle. I seen this candle start turning green, and all I simply did was say, hey, let's throw an order off 32 flat. 32 flat, where do we get? We get triggered off of this wick right here, and not even doing good. My shares are down. Uh, who knows? Maybe we retrace down, fill this gap, and it gives me another potential entry. I had a couple sticky notes earlier in the week where I called out the 31.11 gap, which is right there, and the 27.75 give or take gap down here. That, if it wants to keep falling, I am okay buying this name as I look at it as a value name. Next one is an ETF I've talked about a couple times, and nothing crazy right here, guys. Uh, Cows, I've made many entries into the cows. I've never sold the cows. And, I started back in October with the cows, and I even bought some back in January at an even higher price. I averaged up into it. I even bought some up here in the 46s as we were going into this strength. I looked at it as a positive strength. And is this uptrend set perfectly? You don't really have too many points of contact, but I look at it as in 200 cash flow companies in the United States, adding some broad exposure to some cash flow generating businesses. That is what I see with it. Is it a fair value up here? Honestly, a lot of these indexes had more of a drawback than what this did. For all I know, we come and retest this flat top at 31, where I would be all for buying there. But going into the 15-minute chart, you can see kind of why we bought it. All we did, we set an alert over top of this neckline. Here's the opening candle of the day. Thursday, we trade down, we retrace up. Here's where we get our alert triggered, and here's where we took the trade. Simple as that. All I did was simply put an alert. Is it going to be a perfect entry? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Yes, the shares are up, but all I did was respect the alert and I dipped into some shares of the cows. Moving forward, back to an individual name, Enphase. We talked about Enphase a couple times already, and we talked about where we added off of this trend line in the 160s. Before I probably had my uptrend set like this. As you can see, respected it very well. So somewhere in these 160s, I just bought one single share. Well, we increased that just a little bit today. Let's just clear the chart and go find the opening candle. Here's yesterday's close. It's honestly a pretty solid close. I even got alerted yesterday. I never bought any shares yesterday. But when it gaps up, fills the gap, and I see it start wicking, all I simply did, put an alert over top of that, 175.50, and we just marketed order in, average up from 160 at 175. Now let's go back to why I did this. Is simply you have good strength, you have good volume that's coming in. I look at this as good volume even though the candles are not good. We were patient and we were taking out the tops. Now my 175.50, looking off of this, good strength, good volume increase, nice buying wick right there as it's trying to retest these tops down here. For all I know, this retraces back down, and I'm looking at it as a buying opportunity at 165.22 gap. But I respected the level. Yes, are the shares up? Does that mean it's a good buy? No, it doesn't. All I did was respect the level on a name that is clearly strong. We have strength of 256, and who knows, maybe I'm lucky enough to run this up. Here we are, resting at the previous lows right now. Am I lucky enough to run this up to 220? Let's go to a weekly chart. Am I lucky enough to run this up to the top end of the channel? Here's your channel. This is why we like the name. Does it look reasonable to maybe dip into some shares and look at this as a neckline? For all I know, this has to retrace back down and retest in the 150s. For all I know, it even drops below the uptrend. I look at it as a solid chart setup, and that's why we dipped into some Enphase shares. Moving forward, Disney. We talked about Disney when it was up over 100. Up over 100. I simply stated on their earnings date that if you are not okay, if you are uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form, just sell it. Just sell it. Gapping down through the uptrend, and strength also gives up your positive strength. If you are not comfortable holding this name, just sell it. But I've seen an opportunity. We had an alert on this name at 88 yesterday. Here's the top. Here's your 88 top right here. Let's go to a 15-minute chart so you can see it a little better. Here's the opening candle of the day. Green engulfing to the, or red engulfing to the downside. All I simply did was add an alert. Boom. I seen it alert. I seen it was giving a nice wick, and as soon as it took out the top of these highs, all I simply did was add a couple shares. It's the first add on Disney that I've had since the earnings report. The shares are up a little bit. Who knows? You still have negative 81 strength. Uh, and where I was actually on the bid was this gap fill right here. And man, it sucks when your order off of a gap fill misses by pennies. By pennies, right there. So it sucks. I don't get the fill right here, and I have to buy the shares up higher. Man, it really does suck. Um, but all I did, made a small add to the position, and I respected the level, and I respected the chart setup that it had. Did I need to know that the debt ceiling deal was made today to make this purchase? I didn't even know. Guys, I'm telling you, I didn't even know that there was a debt ceiling deal today. Honest to God, I didn't know. Uh, but yes, that was Disney. The next one, and this one kind of sucks. I'm a little depressed to talk about PayPal. But this was simply just a gap fill buy. I've been talking about how I want these 60s to give up. I want this name at a cheaper price, and honestly, I'm all for this coming all the ways down the 60s or into the 40s. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But I respected the levels that it gave me. As we're getting approaching this positive strength, one, you have nice increasing volume. Now the candles itself aren't the greatest, but this candle right here I do like. You gap up, you fill the gap, and we close this candle up over 62. Now you wick into this resistance. Now today we get the gap up, and all I simply did was put an order off 62 flat. I said there's a gap fill there. Let's go take a look at it. You gap up, boom. This was the very first order I put in today. Boom, fill 62 flat. Did I know it was going to get this follow through? No, I didn't. Before I had my chart set up like this saying, hey, this could have to come down, retest some support right here, and maybe we retrace down and we're talking about this name at 60. Did I know we were going to get this follow through? No. Who knows? Maybe this gets rejected from here. But I respected PayPal. I've talked about PayPal many times on sticky notes. I think that the earnings report was overblown. I think they're buying back shares. I think they have pretty solid margins, and I think in terms of their debt. I think they cover their debt in 3 years of free cash flow, still growing revenue, still growing cash flow. I think they decrease margins slightly, but still really good margins. I look at it as a long-term investment that, I think there's worse investments out there. My opinion, of course, but that is why we added to the PayPal. Uh, these next couple buys that we had, I don't think are worthy of talking on the channel. Not really long-term types of plays. We talked about XLE. We did buy some MRO today. We talked about MRO a few times, and I believe this was a couple weeks ago, and all we simply said is we like this name in the low 20s. Now, honestly, from where I bought the shares, I bought this around the same time I bought XLE, but kind of the same setup. I'm just going to clear the chart. Uh, Here's your opening candle of the day. Yep, wicks up, and it showed me. Okay, it has a little bit of strength. Now, as it's claiming this, I seen it wick. I had an alert right here, and I simply moved the wick down just a little bit, and we made a market order. So really, where the price is at right now, not the greatest buy, but we dipped into the position, and it actually showed me that it had the strength to fill this gap. Maybe we have to sell off just a little bit, and I can see maybe early signs of some sort of uptrend build right here. Do we have to trade down into these low 22s again? Maybe, maybe. But we dipped into some MRO today, and we're going to respect it. So looking at the daily chart, we can take a look at strength, negative 55. Honestly, a decent setup, uh, but I would want to see it get over top of this wick 23s for any continued move, where I'd say you have a neckline break up at 24s. Maybe we get that move, maybe we don't. But a lot of these oil names, they return in value to shareholders, and I like when companies are returning value to shareholders, and they focus more on buybacks, which is more my cup of tea. So we respected that, and that's where we went. Moving forward, what else did we have? We had MO So same thing with the BTI. We added to some Altiria group. I looked at it as in we got a dividend coming up. You have a nice uptrend right here, wicking into it. So is this uptrend set perfectly? Probably not, but it gapped up. All I simply did was put the order off 44.50, and we actually retraced a little bit lower, and we got filled. So I seen it gapped up, boom, just like that. 44.50 filled, and we're in. Did I know it was going to move like this? No, no. Just respected the chart and went from there. Moving forward. Talked about the cows. We talked about Vale. How about this one, guys? How about this one? We said we like the support at 1250. 1250, guys. We had some orders off the gap, and we had to buy a little bit more at a higher price. Let's go over it. Here's your 1250 that we talked about. Boom. We talked about this is where we took a trade on it yesterday. Now, we gap up. I had an order off the gap. That's all I did. Put an order off the gap. And I also put an alert over top of the wick high. I get alerted. And what do? We retest the previous highs. A good small fill right here. Not the greatest type of move, but I will take it. And I added to the position at a higher price than what I bought it the day before. Sometimes it sucks doing that, but I like this name, I like the value, and I like the long-term catalyst that it has. Also, the chart setup, I look at this as a wedge pattern, and who knows, maybe we're talking about this. Let's just extend this over all the ways. I could be looking at this name in 2025, and we're still sitting in this wedge pattern, for all I know. But I like the chart setup. This wedge pattern even dates back all the ways into the beginning of, or the middle of 2020. I think it's a decent chart setup, and that's why we pulled the trigger on some Vale. Moving forward, AA. This is a new one. New position start today, so a little small size. And it's really not even in the greatest setup. Minus 151 on strength. But I just feel it's kind of been beaten down a little bit. I see maybe signs of a wave pattern. Where are we in the tail end of this? This could also be looked at as a wave pattern right here, where we get a clear ABC, and now 1, 2, 3, 4, and then here's your extension down. I probably should have this downtrend set. Are we able to reclaim through this downtrend? It's tough to say. Is there signs of some sort of descending wedge right here? It's possible. But I like the chart setup, and that's why we pulled the trigger on it. Pays a dividend, brings in cash flow, but you can see it a lot better on this. Here's the opening candle of the day. All we did, had an alert. We get alerted. There's your consolidation candle, and there's your follow through. So only slightly in the money, but we added to some AA, and we'll see where it goes from there. So moving forward, EAF. This is one that I traded and took some profits on, and we added to it today. Why did we add it? Here's your opening candle of the day. We gap up. I wish I could tell you I had an order off the gap. No, but I seen it wicked. All I did was put a alert over top of that wick, and this green candle, boom, just like that. Small entry, decently in the money, 4%. It wasn't the biggest add, but we also looked at this as some sort of potential uptrend that it had, and pretty good respect off of that. Did I need to know that the debt ceiling was going through to make this trade? No. No, I didn't. So EAF, I look at it as a beaten down company that still brings in cash flow, not the most amount of debt. Their earnings report really wasn't the greatest. Really wasn't the greatest, but looking more in depth at the company has to do with part of their business that's in Mexico. Are they going to be able to pick it up from here? I don't know, but I feel there is a lot of fear in this name. And honestly, I would say you probably have some sort of descending channel where mapped up like this. Uh, and as it's leaving a wick down here under 4, maybe it has to fall even lower than that before I get a better entry, maybe 350. But I like the chart setup. I like the value. I like the positive strength, so this is one that we bought on positive strength. You can see a better setup of how that looks. And honestly, an alert where we're kind of flirting with right here might even be worth averaging up. So maybe if it pushes through 55s, we can think about adding more to this. Um, and that was the buys for the day. There was more buys that I just don't want to talk about on the channel. It's not because they were bad entries. It's just because I'm not trying to push or persuade anyone into taking those types of investments, and that's why I'm going to leave them out. And it's possible that maybe something that we talked about already has exposure to it. So I'll leave it at that. But looking more so at my day, we did have some sells. We sold out of Kroger. I don't even want to look at it, and honestly, this is why. We had a really good entry on this back in March. We had some good outs. We even reloaded it and had some good outs again. I should have cut this earlier, uh, but just the way that it was setting up today gave me the gap down and the fill, and it filled that gap. So just like looking at it to the upside, gaps up fills the gap. That's where I'm looking to buy. Gaps down fills the gap. That's where I'm looking to sell. Uh, was this perfectly played out? No, we just cut the position because I mean, man, it sucks looking at this saying, man, I wish I cut the position all the ways up here. Even looking at it from this perspective, where oh, this is where we broke the uptrend, cut the position, gaps down, tries to fill the gap. The signs were there, so it's good learning experience right here, and it sucks selling the entirety of the position at a lower price. But that's why we did it, and maybe Kroger gives me an opportunity to, and honestly, maybe selling it right into an uptrend as well. So maybe we can think about a reload. I can also see a gap fill down here, so we got an uptrend and a gap. Maybe we put Kroger back on watch at another date. Who knows? But a lot of increased selling right there. Maybe it needs to retrace up into the 46s, so we'll keep this one on watch. But that is why we cut Kroger today. We had some trims in Meta. Meta's been strong. I wish I wouldn't have trimmed as much, but we trimmed some Meta as we are approaching and starting to fill this gap. I'm looking for the full extension up to this gap. I shouldn't say full extension. For all I know, it just keeps blasting higher. But trim some Meta. We trim some Microsoft. Trim the big tech. I make sticky notes on stuff talking about trims. I'm trying to execute that as well. We trimmed some Microsoft, not at the greatest price. It's actually a higher than where I trimmed it. But gaps down fills the gap. I think you guys know from there. So trim some Microsoft. Palantir. Trim some Palantir, probably at a higher or lower price than what it was. Um, Gaps down fills the gap. There you guys have it. I mean, it's kind of clockwork. But is Palantir overextended? I don't know. It's tough to say. But here's Thursday. Gaps down fills the gap. All we do is respect it. But Palantir, if you're not familiar, we had a sticky note on Palantir for the wick low 9 flat. Sticky note name, guys. Go back to Tuesday May 16th. May 16th. Maybe it was the 15th. May 15th. Go look at my Twitter. Go look at my Instagram. May 15th. Go take a look at it. Sticky note for 9 flat. 9 flat. 60% move. Now, obviously, we had outs on the ways up. I'm not crazy. Uh, does it go higher? Probably. Honestly, this chart setup is beautiful. Beautiful. But didn't have the size as I wanted it to drop maybe a little bit lower where we could have added some more size to it. Am I a genius for this? No. No, I'm not a genius for this, guys. I'm just trading off levels. And the level that really comes to mind is this top right here. Boom. Looked at it as a bull flag. Boom, there's your increased volume. There's your two candles to the downside, decreased volume. All we did was respect the level. That's it. It's nothing crazy. This is what I'm trying to teach here. Do I like Palantir for the long term? I honestly don't. Even on that sticky note, I state that the earnings were not as good as what people were making them out to be. All I did was trade the level. So I do have clear differences in how I value an earnings report than other people, obviously. But if people want to buy it, this is why short-term trading. This is a prime example of short-term trading. If more people want to buy at a given price, the price is going to go up. If more people want to sell at a given price, the price is going to go down. That's just simple supply and demand. Simple supply and demand. But am I a genius for it? No, I'm not. Simply just stating my opinion here, guys. Stating my opinion. What else did we have? PHM. PHM has been a long for me. It sucks kind of selling it, and I sold it at a cheaper price than what I could have. But this just goes in the wave patterns. You have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even a little bit of continuation to the downside. You get the higher low confirmation, punch long, have outs all the ways up. And yeah, this was a banger. This was a banger. Long time I've been holding this puppy. Long time. But yeah, that's a good example of what I'm looking for, and I felt it had run enough, and even right here, I wish I could say I reloaded this off the gap. I didn't. So, no, not always perfect, but that was what I seen with PHM and IEP. We talked about this as simply a trade, and it's sitting a little bit lower. I was actually on the bid right off the gap fill, and I didn't get filled. So yes, guys, I am not perfect. I hope you guys understand that. Man, it would have been nice to just extend just a little bit higher, just a little bit higher. Sometimes that's part of it. And this is why I try to respect gaps. And we had our out on the trend line break. Sucks. Having to sell at a lower price. But this is where we got in off the uptrend. Now the trend line breaks. To me, I would be crazy not to sell it. This was a short seller report, the Hindenburg report. Never really got to that positive strength. Let's see if it can get back down to these 18s. Maybe we'll think about if it presents a level for us to buy at a later date. But that is why we cut IEP as well. That was everything. If we want to go back into some more trading, we took a trade on GSIT. We're still sitting in this. Um, Sorry for the chart. Long story short, it's been having this nice sideways consolidation. This is where alerts are very good. Had an alert at 6. It takes 6. Let's go to a 15-minute chart. You guys can see a little bit better of what I'm looking at here. Here's your uptrend. Uptrend holds. Now there's some good learning points here, guys, and we're going to go over them. I looked at this as a flat top. You have some resistance right here. You have some support that can hold right here. Now, based off of just this chart right here, where do you see the longs getting in at? Well, where does your volume tell you? Clearly right here, some longs got in. Clearly some longs got out. Here's where our uptrend holds. Clearly some longs got in. Let's focus more on today. Sorry for getting a little sidetracked. Based off of this chart right here, where do you think the longs got in? I would say potentially right here as you're getting over top of this, maybe a potential alert over top of this wick. You have a little bit of increased selling, but then increased red volume comes in. Trend line holds. The easy answer would be, oh, they're getting in off the trend line. but this could easily have turned into a short right here. As soon as the price gets underneath this, boom, turns into a short. And why would it turn into a short? You have a gap fill right here. You have an exit potentially for the shorts to get out of the position. You crack, easy outs, hold a piece for the dream. Now, where does your volume tell you? Here's the wick. As soon as you broke through this, look at your volume. Boom, 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 boom. 4 nice green candles comes in. Now, your pullback, I look at this as a pull. This is your pull of a potential bull flag. It's a potential bull flag because it still has to exceed over top of this wick for it to turn into a bull flag. Continuation, I should say. A bull flag continuation. But look at your volume. Your volume decreases very nicely. Now, where are we falling into? Another part that I should say, if this was looked at as a pull of a bull flag, what does the volume do when you exceed that price? The volume stick right here, boom, exceeds your initial move. That is crucial. Now the following two candles, decreasing volume right into a level. Now why do I say it's right into a level? It's your previous highs, here's your body candles, and you have your EMAs meeting in with this. Now also, the longs are in. This should be your indicator that longs have gotten in. Is there going to be continuation? Now when you take out this wick high, it is on this candle. The volume, green candle, and that volume also exceeds the volume from where the longs got in. That is your indicator that you know you are in on a banger of a trade. Now, looking more so, here is your flat top. That is simply profit take. Boom. Now what do? Two decreasing red volumes off of your increased green volume right into a level. Now, is it necessarily a level? You could say it is. Just mark this wick top. We never close below that. Now you get continuation. Now you don't have the increased green volume, but what do? We rinse and repeat. Two red candles, boom, takes out the high. This isn't even getting into more technicals of you also have an ascending channel. You guys see that ascending channel right there? Looking at the daily. Boom, there's your initial move. 1, 2, 3, takes out the high. We hold at the previous tops. Look at that, guys. Look at the price holding right there. And now, here is your breakout price. This could be looked at as a neckline break at 650. And now we're taking out the highs. Where could this run? Well, now we got to go take a look at the left of the chart. You have some resistance up here at 8. You have some resistance up here at 9. You have some resistance up here at 964. You have another top up here at 10. And that's the all-time high price. Get the entry, hold a piece for the dream. Trim the areas that have resistance. I know it sounds easy to say, but this one was just picture perfect right there. Here's your uptrend. Nice uptrend hold, holding a level. I know I may be sounding like a smart ass. Maybe I'm sounding like a smart ass. But let me go take a look at the channel. Oh, Hal's in here. Jeez, Hal, my bad. Crow, what do we got? I'm here to cause problems. C made you cough. Oh. Red face, droppy eyes, EF. I'm looking for a fill at 250. Red. Face red, droppy eyes, face blue, smiling. I'm persuaded selling my house now. Kroger looks good to selling my car now. Is that a dividend stock? May be able to recoup my car on the dividends. I sold my phone so I can see Twitter, but at least I'll be able to afford a little bit of Palantir. Always. I don't know when you said any of this stuff. I don't even know if you're still here, Hal. But yeah, looking at Kroger, I didn't play this perfectly. It was green. As we were holding this for a long time. We were in off the initial positive break back in March. Had some good outs. We even reloaded a gap off the trend line. Didn't know it was a trend line at the time, but we had some reloads. We had some good trims on this. And, I thought maybe this level would be able to hold. Maybe you have sort of an uptrend like this. I didn't want to sell it, but I ended up selling it. And was it a good sell? Who knows? Maybe this retraces back up and we're end up eventually breaking 50s. Who knows? Yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. I don't know if anyone's out there watching. Uh, EAF, I mean, if EAF wants to drop down to 250s, um, I'm all for it. 250s, maybe a little bit of a stretch. Just put a horizontal line off 250. I don't know. Maybe, maybe you're right. But I respected the chart setup that I had today, and I went with it. So, yeah, other than that, we are going to be holding GSIT into the close and see if we can get some continuation. Maybe we hit a reload off of 650s, maybe even 640s tomorrow. And yeah, we'll go from there. I have to make a decision if I want to continue selling some or not. Uh, but I want to try and hold a piece for the dream. BMR. Yeah, we can go take a look at BMR quick, Hal. I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about. I'll probably end up holding this into the close. All I simply have is a stop loss. I believe I have it at 67s. Hopefully there wasn't like a false wick to the downside. I would say on a 15-minute chart, getting close to a positive break. If I was setting an alert on this, I would say over 288 potentially. As here's your opening candle, you gap down. That would be early signs of potentially a run up to fill the gap at 3, and we can see something greater after that. But we'll hold this into the close. I don't have the most size on it. Is it trying to hold a base here? Potentially. Now where I say that 350 for a little bit more confirmation is over top of this wick. Now hopefully it gives you presents an entry of some sort of increased volume before that, but really light volume. It might not be a trade till tomorrow. Maybe it's not even a trade till next week. I can see where you're saying, okay, this is beaten down. Here's your news catalyst. I just don't see where any longs have potentially gotten in yet, is the one thing that I would say for it. But going over to the hour chart, I think the hour chart and the 4 hour, uh, this is where you potentially have, there's your pull for a bear flag, and here's your consolidation period and a flat bottom break to send it down to the 228 gap, which also meets up with some wick highs. And if the longs for or if the shorts are getting back in, uh, if the shorts are in and they're looking for a move down to this gap, they're gonna respect the gap, but hold a piece for a dream. Where the dream move, you have some levels right here, you have some tops, 187. You maybe even can get down to the neckline. The 4 hour chart, this is a good example right here, where you have your red engulfing. Here's your 1-2. This is where you present the entry for the short. So if anybody was looking to continue shorting this name after seeing this move, now it's starting to kind of build this upside down U, call it an N, I guess, where at right here you could have shorts looking to continue for a continuation move to the downside. Also on the daily chart, here's your 3 red candles. So I talked about with the bear flag or a bull flag, I'm trying to make it condense it into Three candles. Well, here's your three red candles. Uh, you have your one, two. Now tomorrow is going to be the third day. Is that going to be the candle you get your continuation move to the downside? So potential bear flag at hand right here. So we'll see where that goes. I need to jump back to the daily. Yep. Yeah, I see where you're looking at with the daily. 280 was obvious support. Any short still brave enough to hold will pay us soon. It's popping now, bro. Let's take a look. Oh, my bad. I didn't even see it. Yeah, getting a little increased volume, just not much. Oh, there, yeah, there you are, Hal. You weren't kidding. It's getting a pop now. Um, so if I was putting an alert in, I would say my first alert would still be getting triggered. Now, would you look at that? This is why I love looking at strength. As soon as you got that positive break right there, you see how we go positive? Look at that candle we're putting in now. So, is this early signs of potentially some longs getting in? Maybe, maybe. I am gonna hold into the close. I'm not interested in selling it right here. Um, but I would say off of an hour chart, your break. This is also gives you a better look of, hey, if I was putting an alert, I like the alert right here. Does it have the strength tomorrow to push up to 3? Maybe respect 3. And respect your EMAs up here on an hour chart. Is there a catalyst for maybe a higher low confirmation in right here? Maybe. Uh, kind of breaking a potential descending channel as well. So maybe early signs of some upside. I will say, yeah, it's not the worst setup. The only thing is, you don't really have a clear look of longs getting in yet. So maybe, to me, I would say you just need a little bit more information. But other than that, I'll take a last peek at GSIT. Looking into the top, I got 1 minute and 30 seconds to decide if I want to sell anymore. A little increased volume. I think I've made the trims that I need to make on this name, and I'm going to hold for the dream move. Let's see if we can run up to 8s tomorrow, maybe even higher. But is there anything else you want me to look at, Hal, before I get out of this? BMR. Just clear everything. Yeah, I would say even tomorrow, uh, if I wanted to run a hard stop, I could give it like this 256. 256, a little bit more risk added there, but could pay me out in the long run. Nope, about to go shave my legs. About to chase the shorts out on BMR. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. We got 3 fills on it. Uh, I don't remember exactly where the fills came in. This was the candle that wicked us through that 76. So I simply just said, hey, I think it's maybe trying to build some support here. We got in. We had to increase our bid up to 83s. We still had the same order in off of 81s. And why I said 76 is that was an intraday gap. So, looks like it's going to hold above my stop for now. Let's see if we can get a 70% gap up tomorrow. You in for that, Hal? I'm in for that. Kazim, let's go take a look at Kazim. Breaking my short-term uptrend, not what I want to see. But calling it now, Hal, if you're still here. We're getting a 50% gap up on, no, let's see, I said over 5. There's over 5. 42% gap up on Kazim tomorrow. You heard it first here, guys. Reliable Rudy's calling it. I'm just kidding. I didn't play Kazim good. I don't know why the hell I didn't try this off 3 flat. No idea why I didn't try it. But today, I think your 50 period's running in around 330s. I think my entry came in at 340. 18 cents in the money. Not something to really brag about, but we'll see if Kazem can gap up. Uh, Still getting some nice volume, nice green candles. It's wicking up to this 380, which is why I say, over 380. If it can get over 380, which is if it gaps up, I think this is going to see a nice volume. You got limit orders on $20. Hey, if BMR wants to get up to $20, I am all for it, Hal. I'm all for it. But we'll see. And that kind of completes the day. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I don't have anything else for you guys. It was a fun day of trading. The only thing that I was really pissed about was frickin' CrowdStrike. Frickin' CrowdStrike, man. I love the earnings report. I love the long catalyst here. I think you do have some sort of ascending channel right here. And it kind of rejected the top end of the channel. All I wanted today was a reload off of this flat top. That's all I wanted. Was it too much to ask for? And also potentially this gap fill right here. Was it too much to ask for? Honestly. But, man. Yeah, if you want a decent earnings report to look at, CrowdStrike is the earnings name that I like. But the moral of the story is you had a nice descending channel. Nice descending channel. You had some tops here with some support. Meeting at the bottom end of the channel. This is where we punched in long. And we are holding CrowdStrike. Love the name. And software company, Hal, you should love this company, man. Software company. But if it wants to somehow get rejected, you have backtest and neckline at 65. I'm all for it. Let CrowdStrike drop down to 65. You want to see compounding? Boom. Revenue increase compounded 60 million. Year over year compound. 480. 690. First gap on a gap basis, CrowdStrike was finally gap positive, but they're free cash flow positive. They choose not to be profitable on a net basis, and their forecast, analysts have them projected at 720. I think they forecasted for 760. So high margin business, free cash flow positive, beaten down. Sign me up. I love high margin companies that are bringing in free cash flow and names that, people want to just trade short term. I'll let them trade it short term. I'll hold it long term. This is going to be a I shouldn't say it's going to be, uh, but I believe the long catalyst for this, I wouldn't be surprised if this freaking 3, 4, 5, 10x to over the next 5, 10 years. High margin software company. But yeah, CrowdStrike. Couldn't get the fill on it today, so it's a little depressing. But other than that, I'm going to call it there. I will see you guys same time tomorrow. Hopefully we get a nice green day on a Friday. So I will see you guys